8 minutes past 4. Well, we seem to finally know who is going to govern us for the next 3 years. Independents Rob Oakeshott and Tony Windsor have agreed to support Julia Gillard and the Labor Party, which now gives the Labor Party the necessary 76 seats to control the upper house. Bob Katter's support was with Tony Abbott, and the coalition have fallen short. They've ended up with 74 seats in the lower house. The question remains as to who will be the Speaker, and there must be a Speaker. And the vote of that Speaker is annulled by that position. So who that is going to be is still not known at this stage. The two independents, and in particular Rob Oakeshott, they really seem to enjoy their time in the media spotlight today. Rob Oakeshott spent 14 minutes talking about the difficulties of making this decision before he actually announced that he would support Labor. It seems that the broadband proposal put forward by Labor was the major point in influencing the decision-making of both Oakeshott and Windsor. Bob Katter, he's also come out now and said as well, following his press conference, that he may retract his support for the coalition if the other two should support Labor. Now, that has occurred, and we hope to talk with Bob Katter in this hour to find out the answer to that question as to whether he will retract that support. Historic day. It really is an historic day today. And between now and 6 tonight, we will continue to update you on what this means for the future of Australia. What we thought we would do is go and talk to someone who understands a little bit what may happen in the next 3 years, and that person is, of course, Malcolm Maher. He's an Australian political commentator, well-known and respected commentator, and he joins us now. Malcolm, thanks for your time.
Good afternoon.
Malcolm, what does this all mean? Does this mean we're now going to have a stable government for the next 3 years? Do you think this government will run its full term?
Well, I do think it will run its full term, yes, I do. My reason for saying that simply is that the only time we've had a hung parliament in the last century, that parliament did run a full term of 3 years, and I can't think of any reason why this one won't run a full term of 3 years.
Malcolm, who will end up being Speaker in your opinion?
Well, that's the interesting question, but I suppose it will be a Labor Speaker and a Liberal Deputy Speaker, and I suppose the Speaker currently in place, Mr Jenkins, would continue, but I must admit I haven't really given a great deal of thought to that.
Now, we talk about how that Speaker's vote is annulled, which then basically means that the House then sits at 75-74 in Labor's favour. Is that enough then for them to conduct business in the Parliament?
Well, the point is that the opposition will provide a pair for the Speaker, so the majority of 2 seats, which is normally there, will simply continue to be there.
Oh, I see. So the deputy then comes in, so as a result you have as such 2 votes that are really annulled in the lower chamber. Is that how it works?
Well, that's right, yeah. The margin 76-74 essentially continues in the form of a gentleman's agreement.
Right. So we now, okay, well that settles that, and it's good to actually know what that does mean. Did the decision today by the 2 independents, by Rob Oakeshott and Tony Windsor, did that surprise you?
No, it didn't. It's what I predicted about a week ago would happen. Exactly what I predicted would happen has happened. That is, 3 of the 4 independents would support Labor, but that Bob Katter would not support Labor. I've always thought Bob Katter wouldn't support Labor, but basically it's fallen down pretty much as I was predicting a week or so ago. And I'll admit this straight out. I am pleased by the outcome.
Why are you pleased about the outcome?
The reason I'm pleased by the outcome is simply this. I happen to think that the popular vote does matter. I happen to think that the popular vote gives legitimacy to a result in seats. Now, notwithstanding all the propaganda you've been reading in the Australian newspaper to the contrary, the Labor Party has won the popular vote. When the full count is made of the 2-party preferred vote, it will reveal 50.1% for Labor and 49.9% for the coalition. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that is the popular vote. The 2-party preferred vote is the popular vote, and I completely dismiss the coalition's argument that because they won 500,000 more first preferences, they somehow have some kind of legitimacy which Labor lacks. As far as I'm concerned, in terms of popular sovereignty, Labor has the legitimacy by virtue of its admittedly quite narrow lead-in votes, but when the counting is finished, Labor will finish up with 20,000 more or possibly even 30,000 more votes than the coalition.
Gee,
as far as I'm concerned, it's a democratic result.
It's not many, is it, when you consider the millions of votes?
Look,
Rob, can we I just want to talk about Rob Oakeshott for a moment. He kept mentioning here today in his press conference, where he spent 14 minutes before he actually announced what his decision was, but he kept saying here now that they should have a swear jar in Canberra, so whenever anyone mentions the word mandate, they get fined for using that word. He was very strong here in letting everyone know that Julia Gillard does not have a mandate. So how does Julia Gillard and her government, how does she go away now and operate and govern without a mandate?
Well, I agree. Governing will be quite difficult, and I think it will test her skills, which are considerable. And yes, I do agree with Rob Oakeshott. In this circumstance, neither party has a mandate. It's simply a matter that the party that has been installed is the party which, in fact, got a slightly higher popular vote, but without any mandate to do things like mineral resources rent tax or carbon taxes or anything else, because the House of Representatives will be a more difficult chamber for the Labor Party than the Senate. That's odd, but it's the case.
Right.
The Senate will be easier for Labor than the House of Representatives. Now, the Senate, of course, won't be easy for Labor until the 1st of July next year.
Right.
But thereafter, the Senate will be a much easier chamber for Labor to manage than the House of Representatives.
All right, Malcolm, just finally, do you think Tony Abbott regrets very much today his decision not to go away with the broadband proposal and say we'll match exactly what Labor had proposed?
Look, I don't think he could have. I really don't think he could have. I mean, the coalition has made so much over this. They have so often said that the Labor Party scheme will be a white elephant. They really can't just suddenly say, oh, now, we want government, so therefore we'll do anything, whatever it takes. I think, if anything, the coalition has done too much. I think they made a mistake to deal with Andrew Wilkie. I think they should have said straight off, in the case of Andrew Wilkie, look, we know we can't get you, but unfortunately they made that huge offer, and I think that was a dreadful mistake.
And that's come back to bite them on the bottom. Malcolm McCarris, we do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
Good on.